The history of the United States is a complex and captivating saga that spans thousands of years, predating its emergence as an independent nation in 1776. While the United States, as we know, it began in the late 18th century, the story of these lands stretches far deeper, shaped by ancient migrations, vibrant indigenous cultures, and centuries of exploration, colonization, conflict, and transformation. This documentary-style narrative will take you through the key milestones of the United States, highlighting the events and influences that have shaped this vast and diverse nation. Long before the founding of the United States, the American continent was home to ancient peoples whose origin remained partially shrouded in mystery. It's widely believed that the first inhabitants of these lands, known as Paleo-Americans, migrated from Eurasia during the last Ice Age, approximately 30,000 years ago. These early settlers are thought to have crossed the Beringia land bridge, a now submerged connection between Siberia and North America, seeking new opportunities in vast and uncharted world. The migration continued until about 10,000 years ago, when rising sea levels submerged Beringia, effectively sealing off the Americas from the rest of the world. As these early peoples spread across the continent, they formed diverse cultures and communities, adapting to the varying climates and landscapes of North America. Among these were the Adena, Iroquois, Coles Creek, Pueblo, and Mississippian cultures, each contributing to the rich tapestry of pre-Columbian history. These societies developed complex social structures, religious practices, and impressive architectural feats, such as the mound-building traditions of Mississippians and the intricate cliff dwellings of the ancestral Puebloans. Meanwhile, far from the mainland, the Hawaiian Islands remained untouched by human presence until the 1st centuries AD. When Polynesians voyaged across the Pacific Ocean to settle these remote islands, this native development marked the beginning of Hawaii's unique history, distinct from the mainland, yet intertwined in the larger narrative of the American continent. The late 15th century marked the beginning of European exploration in the Americas, sparked by Christopher Columbus' 1492 voyage, which led to the accidental discovery of the New World. Spain quickly established a vast empire, conquering powerful indigenous civilizations and setting up colonies from South America to the American Southwest. France, seeking its share, founded colonies in eastern North America, the Caribbean, and South America, exploring key waterways like the St. Lawrence and Mississippi rivers. Portugal focused on Brazil, while the English, Dutch, and Swedish settled along North America's eastern coast. In 1607, the English founded Jamestown, the first permanent colony, overcoming early struggles to secure a foothold in the New World. The 17th and early 18th centuries witnessed the rapid growth of English colonies along the Atlantic coast of North America. These colonies, each with their distinct characteristics, formed the foundation of what would eventually become the United States. They developed diverse economies, ranging from the tobacco plantations of Virginia to the shipbuilding and trade industries of New England. Despite occasional conflicts with Native American tribes, the colonies thrived, fueled by a steady stream of immigrants seeking a new life in the New World. Each of the 13 American colonies operated under a unique governmental structure, typically overseen by a governor appointed from London who worked alongside locally elected legislatures. This system allowed the colonies to exercise a degree of self-governance while still remaining under the ultimate authority of the British Crown. By the mid-18th century, the population of the American colonies was growing rapidly. The availability of land, coupled with relatively low death rates and promise of economic opportunities, attracted immigrants from across Europe. However, this growth was not without its dark side. The rise of tobacco and rice plantations in the southern colonies led to an increased demand for labor, which was met through the importation of enslaved Africans. By the 1770s, African slaves comprised nearly a fifth of the American population, particularly concentrated in the southern agricultural regions. Despite their success, the American colonies were not immune to the political and economic tensions of the broader British Empire. As Britain sought to consolidate its control over its vast global holdings, it imposed a series of taxes and regulations on the colonies, sparking growing resentment among American colonists who felt their rights as English subjects were being violated. One of the most significant points of contention was the Stamp Act of 1765, which imposed taxes on a variety of printed materials in the colonies. The colonists, who had no direct representation in the British Parliament, railed around the cry of no taxation without representation, refusing to pay taxes levied without their consent. Tensions continued to escalate, culminating in the Boston Tea Party of 1773, a dramatic protest against a new tax on tea that saw American patriots dump British tea into Boston Harbor. In response, the British government enacted the Coercive Acts, stripping Massachusetts of its right to self-government and placing it under military rule. This heavy-handed response only fueled further resistance, and in 1774, representatives from all 13 colonies convened the First Continental Congress to coordinate their efforts against British policies. The situation reached a boiling point in 1775. When open conflict broke out between colonial militants, militias, and British forces at Lexington and Concord. The Second Continental Congress soon convened, and only July 4, 1774, it adopted the Declaration of Independence, firmly severing ties with Britain and establishing the United States of America as a new independent nation. The American Revolutionary War raged on until 1783, with the fledgling United States facing off against the world's most formidable military power. Key victories, such as the American triumph at Saratoga and alliances with France, Spain, and the Netherlands, helped turn the tide in favor of the Americans. Under the leadership of General George Washington, the Continental Army managed to secure the nation's independence, culminating in the Treaty of Paris, which recognized the United States as a sovereign nation. With independence secured, the United States embarked on a period of rapid territorial expansion. In 1803, President Thomas Jefferson negotiated the Louisiana Purchase, acquiring a vast territory from France that doubled the size of the United States overnight. This purchase opened the door to westward migration as settlers crossed the Appalachian Mountains in search of new opportunities in the rich, fertile lands of the American interior. As the nation expanded, it encountered new challenges and conflicts, particularly over the issue of slavery. The admission of new states into the Union sparked heated debates over whether these states would permit slavery, setting the stage for a growing divide between the North and the South. This divide ultimately erupted into the Civil War, a brutal conflict that would define the United States in the 19th century. The war began in 1861 after the election of Abraham Lincoln, a staunch opponent of slavery's expansion into new territories. Following Lincoln's election, several southern states seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. The conflict was sparked by the Confederate attack on Fort Sumter in South Carolina, and over the next 4 years, the nation was engulfed in a bloody struggle that pitted brother against brother. The Civil War ended in 1865 with the defeat of the Confederacy, the abolition of slavery, and the preservation of the Union. The war's aftermath saw the United States grappling with the challenges of Reconstruction as the nation sought to rebuild the South and integrate formerly enslaved people into American society. The late 19th century was a time of tremendous change in the United States as the nation transitioned from an agrarian society to an industrial powerhouse. Railroads crisscrossed the continent, factories sprang up in burgeoning cities, and new technologies revolutionized every life. The American economy boomed, attracting millions of immigrants from Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world who sought better lives in the land of opportunity. This era also marked the United States' emergence as a global power. In 1898, the United States defeated Spain in the Spanish-American War, acquiring overseas territories, including Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. The nation's growing influence was further demonstrated in its involvement in World War I, where it played a critical role in supporting the Allied powers against Germany. However, the post-war economic boom came at a crash and halt with the onset of the Great Depression in 1929. This worldwide economic crisis had devastating effects on American society, leading to widespread unemployment, poverty, and a loss of faith in the country's financial institutions. The New Deal, a series of social and economic reforms introduced by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, sought to stabilize the economy and provide relief to suffering Americans, but the nation would not fully recover until the outbreak of World War II. World War II was a defining moment in American history, propelling the United States into a leading role on the world stage. The country initially sought to remain neutral, but the attack on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese Empire on December 7, 1941 forced the United States into the conflict. American forces fought across Europe, Africa, and the Pacific, playing a decisive role in the Allied victory over Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan. The war ended in 1945, with the United States and the Soviet Union emerging as the world's two superpowers. This new geopolitical reality sparked the Cold War, a decades-long struggle between the capitalist West, led by the United States, and the communist East, led by the Soviet Union. Although the two superpowers never engaged in direct military conflict, they clashed indirectly through proxy wars, nuclear arms races, and ideological battles. During this period, the United States was also a battleground for social change, particularly during the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s. Leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X fought for the rights of African Americans, challenging the nation to live up to its founding ideals of liberty and equality. Landmark legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, sought to dismantle institutional racism and expand civil liberties. The Cold War came to an end in 1991 with the collapse of the Soviet Union, marking a victory for the United States and its allies. However, the end of this global standoff did not mean an end to conflict. The United States continued to grapple with challenges at home and abroad, including economic crisis, terrorism, and ongoing debates over its role in the world. The early 21st century was marked by the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, which brought the horrors of international terrorism to American soil. The attacks, orchestrated by the extremist group Al-Qaeda, prompted the United States to launch the war on terror, leading to protracted military engagements in Afghanistan and Iraq. These conflicts, along with domestic issues such as the 2008 financial crisis, tested the resilience of the American people and their institutions. Today, the United States remains a global leader, characterized by its innovation, cultural influence, and complex history. From its ancient beginnings to its modern challenges, the story of the United States is one of resilience, conflict, and continual transformation. As the nation looks toward the future, history serves as both a reminder of the struggles it has overcome and a guide to navigating the challenges that lie ahead. The history of the United States is a sweeping narrative of exploration, colonization, conflict, and transformation. From the ancient migrations of the first peoples to the rise of a modern superpower, the United States has been shaped by a diverse array of cultures, ideologies, and events. Its story is one of both triumph and tragedy, marked by the enduring pursuit of freedom, equality, and opportunity. As the nation continues to evolve, its rich and complex history remains a vital part of its identity, offering valuable lessons and inspiration for future generations.